Hi there, Tug here from The Fishers and I. Hope you're safe and well. Now today I wanted to do a little continuation of the pedalboard rundown that I did a couple of weeks ago and just go through the patch cables that I decided to use for the board. Now I chose the Boss Solderless kits. I needed a couple of the bigger kits to make up the amount of pedals that I needed to do. And I just wanted to run through why I chose those, and then hopefully at the end I'll give you a couple of tips if you are thinking along the lines of using them. I'll give you a couple of pointers, as there's been a couple of sort of reviews that I saw when I was looking into it that sort of mixed reviews, should we call them? Some people struggled connecting them, so I'll show you a bit of a couple of pointers as to hopefully that might help. I think when I was looking into these cables and what to use for my board, I think if I'd have seen this video, it would have sort of helped me with my decision a bit more as well, I think. But yeah, let's dive into the board. I'll show you some of the runs that I've got and why I had to sort of choose these cables. So a brief little look at the board. As you see, I had several connections to make using the Gig Quartermaster. If you haven't seen the rig rundown or the pedalboard rundown, basically pedals, these ones along here are all sort of top mounted, so they've got runs that go from the quartermaster to the ins and outs. Also I've got these little connections up here, so just a little join all along there, but also I've got a couple of really long runs, so from number 6 it goes all the way over down the side and then back up for the Wampler Terraform, and then also from 5 it goes over to the ABY box and then back from the ABY box to 5. So as you can see, I've sort of got several different size cables that I would have needed. So straight from the off I thought, right, well, rather than having to order 6 of a small cable, 6 of a medium cable, 3 of this, 4 of that, whatever I needed, I thought it would be better to be able to sort of cut them to my own lengths, and then that way I can choose the sizes that I wanted. So that's really the main reason for me. Now the other option I could have gone is to solder my own cables. Now I'll be honest, I am useless at soldering, so I didn't trust myself to do that. I didn't want to use just the little straight joiners without the cables, because when you're pressing down on a pedal it obviously creates quite a lot of tension on the inputs and outputs of different sort of pedals where you've got different heights. So I didn't want to just use the straight connectors. So that was my 2 options really, either to make up my own cables soldering or to go with the solderless kit. Now for me, as I say, because there's quite a lot of different junctions, a lot of different sizes, to get the right sizes in pre-made soldered cables would have been pretty a bit of a pain in the arse, and inevitably it would have, say up here I would have had a lot of excess. Even say a 10 centimetre cable, I would have had a lot of excess, and I, like most people, you wanted to keep it as neat as possible. So yeah, that's the reason why I sort of chose it. So there's why I personally wanted to use the Boss cables. Now I think most people are concerned with, when choosing cables, are they going to sound good? Are you going to lose any tone or any degradation of sound? And I can honestly say I've been really pleased with them. No loss of high end, even with the sort of multiple runs that I've got. Now I appreciate sort of the interference side of things people worry about, and I can, as I say, I can vouch for them. They're really good. Now obviously soldered cables are always going to be stronger, always more durable, I guess, But again, I've sort of swapped pedals and done lots of different pedal boards to try and find the pedals that I wanted to keep on the board, as I've already been through in the pedal board rundown. Now, so these cables have been on and off the board, swapped over, cut different sizes, back on, and lots and lots of times. And again, I've never had one fail on me. Never had a problem with them. So that's just my experience with them. So I'll give you these a couple of little tips now of how I sort of cut them and how I put them together. So if you're thinking along the lines of using them, then hopefully that'll help. So this is pretty much what you get with the kit. A real length of cable, and then whatever size pack you choose, you get these little jack connectors. Now, before you sort of connect them up, what I would do is, on a nice flat surface, to make the cut, you want to get it as straight and as square as you can. And what I used, don't use a pair of scissors because it crimps the cable and it makes it awkward to get in. So that's the first pointer. But once you've got it nice and flat, what I tended to use was a Stanley blade. I haven't got one to hand, sod's law, but basically a Stanley blade. Get it nice and square, nice and straight, and just push straight down onto the cable to get a nice clean cut. Once you've got the cut, now all you do to connect them, let's just see if I'm in shot, yeah. All you're doing, you get a little bit of resistance when you first push it in, but just go past that, push it in a little bit further, and that's it in position. And then all you do, use the little screwdriver they provide with the kit, and then literally just screw it down. Now, all I did is just made sure, if we could just go a little bit more. All I did is just made sure that it was sort of flush. You don't want to go down too far, but you don't want to be too far out if you catch my drift. So all you're doing is just making sure it is sort of flush as you screw it down. And I found once it was connected, that pretty much worked on every single cable I made up. So yeah, don't screw down too hard, just so that it's flush with the barrel. So my other little tip here is, before you connect them all up to your pedals and put it all onto your board, you want to check each cable's made up correctly. Now, I'm sure there's meters that you can buy to do that, but what I did is turn on your amp, put it onto into your input there. I'm sure you're about to hear that noise. You want to make sure all of them have got a signal going through them. Just a good little tip there. So before you place them all onto your board and get everything plugged in, check each one, because if you've got a faulty one and you haven't made it up correctly, you can adjust it. Obviously, make sure it's good before you put it all on. The last thing you want to do is make up your pedal board and then find there's a faulty one, and you've got to try hunting that down. So I hope that helped. If you're thinking along the lines of the Boss cables, as I say, I highly recommend them. They're really good, especially if you can't solder or not very good at soldering, then they're a really good option. Especially if you've got sort of multiple different runs to do, short and long runs, you can, just make them to whatever lengths you want. That's the real bonus of them. Quality sounds good. They're durable. I can vouch for them. So that's the main three things that you want from a cable. So yeah, I recommend them highly. So next week, what we'll do, I'm going to run through the buffers on my board, why I think it's really beneficial, and this is kind of linked to cables. You can have the best cables in the world on your board, but if your signal, has got a long run, then you're going to need a buffer on the board. And I'll show you the two that I've got running, and how it affects the sound. I'll do a sort of sound comparison with and without the buffers. So I'll do that next week. But until then, look after yourselves and stay safe. Bye for now.